Today, we'd like to welcome to North White High School, Miss Chloe Caroline, to join our family of speakers here. Chloe, thanks so much for taking time to join our students here today.
Oh my gosh, of course. Thank you for having me. This is
So we'll
awesome.
get started with the gentleman out there with all the wonderful musical ability. Mr. Hoover, you're up.
Let's go.
Thank you very much, Chloe, for joining us. The question I always ask, will you tell us about your musical upbringing? Maybe where you're from? Because I got seventh graders here that they don't know a whole lot about you, but where you're from, were you in band, choir?
Yeah.
When you're done with that, I've got a follow-up.
Okay, cool. So I'm from Manhattan Beach, California, which is a little beach town in Los Angeles. If you fly into LA, it's about 15 minutes from the airport. And I grew up in a pretty musical family. My grandpa was a singer. My dad was a singer-songwriter, and he's actually the reason that my family even moved to LA. He was in bands in the 80s, stuff like that. And I just always loved it. I was kind of really drawn to music when I was even like 6 years old. I taught myself piano and eventually got a piano teacher and started writing songs on there. And I grew up listening to everything from, the 70s, Stevie Nicks, if you guys know Fleetwood Mac, that band. Yep. Prince, Michael Jackson, all of those old school artists, Frank Sinatra, literally everything. And then also kind of was growing up in the early 2000s. So when there were artists like Avril Lavigne, if you've heard of her. So it was definitely like a mixture of things. But yeah, I kind of kept writing songs. And then when I was 11, I got really sick, actually. It was like I was like the same age as you guys. And for me, I had to get like pulled out of school. I was on independent study, and music became my best friend. And I taught myself guitar on YouTube, and it was kind of like my way to connect with people because I couldn't be in school at that time. And then when I eventually started going back to school, I had a really amazing teacher. I was just telling your teacher here, that was an English teacher, and he encouraged us to basically free write every single day when we got to class, and we would write, about anything. It could be about what was happening at lunch with our friends, whatever. The grammar didn't have to be right. It was just to get us to like creatively open up. And that helped me become a better songwriter. And it kind of went from there. Started posting my stuff on a Facebook page that I got at the time, and started going to school. And my friends would tell me that they related to my music. That was really cool to hear. And I kind of just kept going from there. So that was a long-winded way to answer that. But
Thank you. Now, again, you kind of were getting there. Tell us what you're doing now, current projects, instruments you play, where we can find you, that kind of stuff. So present day.
Present day. Yeah. So I have now been releasing pretty much since I was a teenager. I play guitar. I play a little bit of piano. I love to play with a full band, but I also often play with just myself, a guitar player and a keyboard player, just as like a really stripped down sort of setup. But my music's definitely more pop leaning, but kind of has a singer-songwriter thing to it. So if you like artists like, of course, Taylor Swift, or try to think of another one. If you guys know Gracie Abrams, she's a really talented artist, but kind of that have like the singer-songwriter quality to it, but it's pop. That's kind of what I do now. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, everything. I can go through all of my socials at the end if you'd prefer, but yeah.
Thank you very much. Before I send it back to Mr. Shriver, you'll see me looking over here because that's where you're actually showing up.
Oh, okay.
Camera. Also, we were pointing earlier because you said Stevie Nicks, and just above where I sit all day,
yeah,
album of Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac. So we love hearing the name drops and influences like that.
He's literally my hero.
Nice. We will send it back to Mr. Shriver.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Chloe, I have a question for you as going through your biography, that you are radiating the new Southern California sound, or SoCal sound. I have taught here recently to the kids about Dick Dale, Jan and Dean, of course, the legendary Beach Boys that brought us the SoCal sound. Talk a little bit about your genre and what the new SoCal sound is all about.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, fun fact is the Beach Boys literally grew up about 10 minutes away from my hometown here, which is where I am now. And they actually didn't even surf, which is so funny. I think only one of them did. But, anyways, yeah. So, for me, it's definitely a mixture of influences from, the original SoCal sound from, artists like the Beach Boys and Fleetwood Mac mixed with present day. So you kind of have a lot of that organic sort of style of music, right? Real instruments mixed with more electronic instruments. So if you're a fan of Harry Styles, maybe he's a good example, or even Dua Lipa, they're not necessarily like a SoCal sound, but they have that combination of like organic instrumentation and electronic production, which kind of makes it a little bit more present day. But yeah, my stuff kind of has like a feel good vibe to it. I want it to feel a little bit timeless. I want even songs that are sad to kind of still give you some sort of hope. For me, that's what California is. It's this place of possibility and dreams and warmth. And I think that's originally why people came here. And I hope to kind of keep bringing that vibe, make you want to turn on the radio with your windows rolled down, that sort of feeling.
Well, I appreciate that answer. Talking about the Beach Boys, my wife made fun of me because on the way back to the airport, we had to swing through Hawthorne and see the monument there to where the Beach Boys grew up. I appreciate the answer. Mr. Hoover has a young student would like to speak with you.
Awesome, yay!
Yes, this is a huge moment because I've got 15 students over there and nobody wants to ask a question, but they all have a question. But Tristan Avendano, he's the first one that said, I'll do it. He's a multi-instrumentalist. I would push him to do percussion if he wasn't such a great sax player. But a 7th grader, Tristan, what's your question?
What was the hardest part about learning the guitar?
Ooh, good question. Also, hello. Thanks for being willing to ask a question. I would say for me, it was, patience, of course, right? Like you want to be able to learn something really quickly. And especially when I was in 7th grade, I still struggle with being patient with things, but I was really impatient and I wanted to be immediately, good, like the people that I heard. But I would say my biggest thing was just starting with even like 4 chords and like mastering those. It sounds like you already know what you're really doing, but for anybody else who wants to maybe start a new instrument, just getting like some very simple basics and then like really nailing those, because for me as a songwriter, I can't even tell you how many songs I've written with like 4 chords. So it makes you feel good to just at least get going, But that in rhythm was really hard for me too.
So in regards to guitar, I play a lot of guitar myself. Can you talk about the next step of bar chords and how important those are? A lot of people stop with C, G, D, and minor, but the next step is bar chords and how important they are.
Yeah, they are. And especially if you're somebody who wants to play electric guitar. I primarily play acoustic guitar, but it is important, especially to just learn how to play things in different places and get different sounds, basically playing the same chord just in a different area. It sounds completely different sometimes and can really elevate a song that you're playing. So it is really important. It is hard, I will say, but I think that, of course, like anything with practice, you kind of get it. And honestly, to be super candid, like I'm not a huge theory person because I think partially I taught myself guitar. I did take choir, so I had to learn like a basic level of theory for that. But I kind of have been a little bit taught by ear, learning on YouTube, things like that. And to an extent, that's also kind of been a gift because I haven't been kind of stuck in a box sometimes. I know some people that only focus, I think you've got to have a balance. Some people like that only focus on what's right or what's wrong with theory. And sometimes they can get in their head a lot.
Thank you. Real quick, while we still have you on the guitar subject, can you tell us what your most recent axe is, or what are you playing on right now? What do you like? You prefer Gibson, Taylor?
So I have a Taylor. It's the Taylor 210E specifically. That's the acoustic that I have. Nothing crazy. I think for me, I just love playing it because it's kind of a gift that I got myself when I got my first movie role. I was in a Hallmark movie actually, and I got to also have the entire soundtrack. I got to perform it and write it, and so when I got paid for that, it was really an exciting moment for me, and I bought that guitar.
Thank you. We're gonna go back to Mr. Shriver. I'm gonna try and drum up some more business here.
Yeah, guys, I swear I'm not scary.
Well, Claudia, I was gonna get to acting in a little bit because I saw that on your resume, but my next question for you. We have a good friend that has joined us before. His name's Asher Ben Ruby. He's been a DJ in Indianapolis, Washington, D.C., and for 30 years in St. Louis. And he always comes on here and asks the question about being an artist. And I see you're an indie artist, meaning outside the record label. And he always likes to ask the question, how do you handle your business without the business handling you?
Oh, wow. Um, for me, I mean, honestly, it's stuff like this, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it reminds me of like why I'm doing what I'm doing, even though it can be incredibly overwhelming to manage everything myself. I also, am lucky to have a father who has been in the music industry, and he is somebody I can go to with questions that I have and guidance, and not everybody has that. So that's been great. And then I think also being able to collaborate with other artists and other just creatives in general that that obviously want to create with me. And I think we're all kind of in this journey together, and that's been really helpful. So it's a reminder of that. I think sometimes we get a little freaked out that like we're going at it entirely alone because we don't have a label or something like that. But I'm a true believer that like everything that you want to do is absolutely possible if you kind of just put it out there. I mean, I've cold emailed people, I've cold DM'd people on Instagram just reaching out, and it's a little bit scary, of course, because you don't know if they're going to respond. But it's also one of those things where it's like, if you don't reach out, well, they're definitely not going to respond, to that. They can't, right? So you might as well kind of go for it.
Before we go back to Mr. Hoover, I want to do one follow-up. Obviously, I've talked to you, I teach a class on the 80s. MTV got started in 1981. Videos, I've been to your website, I've seen your videos. How important are music videos today? Are they important today as they were when MTV started back in 1981?
I think it's different. I wish I could say that everybody watches 3-minute long music videos. As you guys all know that are on TikTok and stuff, you're watching videos that are very short. So that can definitely be not as motivating for people that want to create, these longer music videos. But for me, like that's one of the most important things is like seeing how my music can become a story on screen. So it's something that I've really tried to continue to do because, there's so many things you can do still with a 3-minute music video, whether it's chopping it up into a million different pieces, or just using it as like a talking point to get your music out there. I am an independent artist, but I've been really blessed to have been able to be playlisted on like, the pop playlists, incoming pop, things like that, discover artists, things like that. And that's been really helpful. And again, like for me, I've been able to do all of my music videos for under $1,000, which is very, very rare and very hard to do sometimes. But you build your army of people, there's always someone that wants to create something.
Thank you for that answer. Mr. Hoover.
Thank you. I do have a student over here doing sound for us, so I do want to say thank you to Towns. Up next, though, is Giovanni. Giovanni has a question for you and a follow-up.
Yay!
Okay, so you said that Stevie Nicks inspired you, but what inspired you?
Wait, hold on. It broke up for a second. Will you repeat that one more time?
So you said that Stevie Nicks influenced you, but who else influenced you too?
Oh, yeah. So definitely, I don't know if you guys are familiar with an artist named Carole King, probably not. Not yet. Hopefully they fill you in on her. She's pretty cool. But I would say, I mean, I've got a lot of older influences, and then I also have a lot of new influences. So one of my favorite artists today is, I already mentioned him, but Harry Styles. I'm a big fan of what he does. I love his music. So him, even, you know, artists like Shawn Mendes. If you guys have ever heard of the Dixie Chicks, that's a country band, but I was really a fan of them when I was growing up. Who else? Dolly Parton. I was a huge fan of Dolly Parton, if you guys know her music. Honestly, it's all over the place. Gavin DeGraw. I don't know if you guys know Gavin DeGraw, but yeah.
You did a great job with that answer, and you actually got to his second point, which was who should we be listening to now? So I appreciate where you came from and the old soul, and then of course you were mentioning super popular bands right now. So thank you again.
Yeah.
Back to Mr. Schreiber.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Chloe, next thing for you, and I know Mr. Hoover has talked about this with his band members, stage presence, when you go out to perform. And I've seen some of your performances. Looks like you, is it 3 maybe or 2 backing you up? Talk about your role on stage and how you go about getting the audience involved and giving them a good show.
Yeah. So my favorite part about performing is definitely telling the stories behind my songs. Not everybody does that, I would say. It's something that I really have always kind of done, but really picked up when I went to college in Nashville and really like started my career there. It's something that a lot of songwriters do. And so I love getting to just give people the whole like the story behind why a song was written. And I definitely feel like it helps the people in the audience resonate with the song off the bat, especially if they've never heard my music. So I would say that's a big part of getting them involved because they feel like they get to know you, and they do. Another thing that I love to do with my fans or my listeners when I'm playing live is start all of my shows with positive affirmations. It's something that I started to do this past year or two. And you know, just basically getting the crowd to do like kind of like a call and response. So I'll say an affirmation like, you know, I am amazing, or everything is working out for me, something positive to set the vibe. And then I have them repeat it back to me. And it just kind of fills the room with good energy. And it's just a good way to start the show. So it gets them used to like doing a call and response as well. So that's really fun. And then, yeah, I have certain songs, of course, that I want them to chime in on. And yeah, so I'll just be like, hey, okay, when I get to this part, you're going to repeat after me. And then they will. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I used to be, you know, very shy, which is interesting because now I get up on stage and I don't really get nervous ever. I was always really good at public speaking, but as far as singing in front of people, I got really afraid that I was going to fail or mess up. And eventually, yeah, I just kind of kept doing it. And the more you do it, you kind of get over it. And I became a cheerleader as well, and that kind of helped me get better at performing.
Well, thank you for that answer. We're going to go back out to the band room where we have a couple students.
Awesome. Yay, they're coming out.
Up next, we have Towns. He plays saxophone, and he has a question for you.
Awesome.
What is one of the biggest obstacles or challenges you have overcome?
Ooh, as an artist, probably, right? Like as an independent artist?
Yeah.
I would say definitely kind of, I mean, you're essentially as an independent artist still competing with label artists.
Any questions you wanna ask?
And so
Huh?
No, I'm just
the
enjoying.
same resources as far as, you know, finances when you have act as a bank in a way. And they also have a ton of other connections kind of immediately in their network. And so for me, I really had to go out and build those myself or get really creative as far as budgets go to be able to still release music and still promote it and kind of keep things moving. So it's definitely like a big challenge. And then also in the age of everything being, viral on TikTok and stuff, sometimes that can kind of be overwhelming because it seems like that's the main focus is to go viral, and that's more important than the music sometimes. So it's hard to not get caught up in all of that.
Okay, thank you.
Back to Mr. Shriver.
Thank you. Chloe, my next question, let's talk a little bit about songwriting. Everybody does it differently. One of the neat projects Mr. Hoover and I worked on this year was with my history of rock and roll class. There was a project on Google where the kids wrote the lyrics, and then we took the lyrics to the garage band class to form the music.
Yeah.
How do you go about writing your songs? Melody first, words, both?
Oh man. So definitely both. It really depends if I'm writing by myself. Am I writing with somebody else? When I write by myself, I oftentimes kind of just, sometimes I'll be heavily inspired by something that I'm going through, and I'll just kind of sit down and just kind of start feeling it out. And it kind of just comes out at once, or I'll get, one particular lyric in my head and then kind of just go from there. When I'm writing by myself, I oftentimes start from the beginning, like from the first verse throughout the rest of the song. It's definitely written like in, consecutively. And then when I'm writing with other people, sometimes we'll also do that. Or I will bring in a title idea and then kind of like a concept, and then we'll brainstorm together from there. Sometimes we'll have like basically like a therapy session and talk about what's going on in our lives. And if I'm the artist in the room in particular, a lot of times what's going on in my life, and we'll kind of brainstorm from there. It really depends. So that's what makes it fun though, is that you kind of get to do it a different way every time. But me personally, I'm a big lyric person. Lyrics are super, super important to me. And I'm also a big melody person.
Well, the next thing I want to ask you before we go back to Mr. Hoover, let's talk a little bit about your acting career as well. I know we've talked about music. Congratulations on what you've done in the acting world as well. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I had, besides doing music videos, I really had never acted in my life. And in 2018, I got randomly asked to audition for a Hallmark movie. I had a couple of my music videos on Disney Channel, and they had seen that, and they had asked if I had acted before. And my manager was like, yeah, she's acted. I had never acted. And sometimes you just gotta roll with it, guys. And so anyways, they sent me the audition and I did it. And given it wasn't very far-fetched, I was basically playing a bartender who was also the singer. So I got to do a little bit of both. I got to perform. I also had lines. If you have sisters or a mom that's ever watched Gossip Girl, my co-star was the mom from Gossip Girl, Kelly Rutherford. And yeah, it was kind of a crazy experience because I really had no idea what I was walking into. And I was super lucky that I had a really supportive cast and crew that encouraged me. And it's part of the reason why I still kind of do it, and it's why I got an agent. And yeah.
Well, congratulations. We're going to go back to the band room for some more students.
Up next we have Chase, also known as DJ Redhawk, because he loves to.
Okay.
Has anybody ever covered your song? If so, how does that make you feel?
Have they ever what?
Has anybody ever covered your song? If
Oh,
so,
covered.
how does that make you feel?
Yeah, they have, and it's pretty amazing. I've had it happen a couple times, and one of my favorite times is when this violin player covered my song Ready, and he was so amazing. He made it sound like an absolute, movie score. And it was a song that I had written when I was, really trying to convince myself to keep going and take a risk. And here was this guy who covered my song and was so talented, telling me that my song encouraged him to take a risk and chase his dreams. So that was amazing. And I kind of realized in that moment, like, okay, this is why I have to keep doing this, because clearly it's making an impact on people, even though I was, have had people doubt me or whatever. I got to keep going. So it was amazing. It's probably the best compliment ever.
Mr. Hoover, you have a question.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time so far, Chloe. So in front of me, I have this, it's kind of a small poster that hangs in the band room. I get a lot of questions on it. It says careers in the music industry, for example, booking agent, chatbot creator, therapist, music therapist. Here's another one, product designer. What I'm trying to get at is a lot of the students want to know, because they're seventh grade, they're thinking about their future. We don't have to get finite with your details, but can you talk about money and how like difficult it is to be independent and the starving artist, and maybe some of the bills that you have to see, that you see throughout a month or a year that they would not have thought about yet?
Yeah. So it's definitely an investment in yourself and your dream. There are many different sides of it. There's of course the creative, so paying for players, for example, like professional musicians. If you don't play on your own recordings, like I said, I do play, but there are people that are far better musicians than me to play on an actual recorded piece of work. And so hiring them, hiring producers, and then there's mixing engineers. So they're the people that level out everything, mastering, make sure everything's kind of loud enough. And that's simply just to get like one song. So those are like, 4 different people that you basically have to pay. Sometimes you'll get a producer that does it all. I've been blessed to work with people like that, or they do like 3 of the 4 steps, right? So that's kind of helpful. And then there's of course, the promotion side of things, the advertisements, Meta, so Facebook and Instagram ads, there's TikTok ads, Google ads to promote on YouTube. And you don't always have to have crazy large budgets. Obviously, like I don't necessarily have that in comparison, especially to record labels that have like hundreds of thousands of dollars to put towards ads. I've done ads, for a couple hundred, like here and there for a release. And that's just part of what you do to get it out there. Pitching to playlists, to independent playlists. That's somebody's job, is to pitch to playlists like that. PR, so press, trying to get articles, blogs, trying to get on TV shows. Some of those things can be free once you make your connections. But there's that. What else? There's a lot. Social media itself is crazy. I've definitely had people that help me kind of just reach out to people, and then I'll take it from there, and I'll reach out once I get that first contact with them. But it's also been really important to me to make those one-on-one connections myself. So that's something that I've worked really hard at doing. And then of course, music videos. The list continues.
Thank you very much. That was really sweet. I liked what you said earlier. It's an investment, and it really is not in what you already know, but it's an investment in what you want to see happen. If that makes sense, because you know what's already inside of you. And I appreciate everything that you said, because it opened our eyes, as opposed to being like, you can make $45,000 a year. Well, we just heard where $40,000 goes really quickly.
Yeah, it does. But, I think too, for me, like my goal has always been to, I want to do what I love. So for me, like I'm going to make it work, and you do have to get creative. I have used social media to connect with brands, for example. That was a really important thing, because that's a whole other outlet to make money. I've had brands that end up, sponsoring a music video, or sponsoring a different, sort of video for Instagram or something like that. And that's money that I can use towards my music. So that's just another outlet where you know, can have somebody else kind of come on board that's not a label and still help you.
Thank you. We'll send it to Mr. Shriver. I'm going to try and drum up one more question.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Chloe, go ahead and talk to the kids a little bit here. I'm going to ask you, what's coming down the pike for Chloe Caroline? What are we going to see here in the next few years? What are you working on?
Yeah, so I just released an EP, which is exciting. It's called The Awakening Volume 2. And so that's now out on Spotify, Apple, all the places. I did a music video for every single one of those 5 songs that you can go watch on YouTube. And so definitely pushing that. I have a duet that's actually coming out on next Friday, which is super exciting. So October 11th, with a friend of mine, actually another artist friend. So that's cool. I've got new merchandise. I actually haven't done merchandise in years. So I've been designing that. I'm going to be releasing that. I've also been working on a short film that I'm trying to get made, which will be really fun. Lots of different things. Christmas songs coming up too. Yeah, lots of different music.
We'll go back to the band room and we'll wrap it up from there, and I'll come back with a final word. Mr. Hoover.
Thank you. Once again, here is Tristan Avendano. He's got a great question about your stage performance.
Okay.
You still get nervous when you go on stage?
That's a good question. You know, I wouldn't say it's nerves as much as, you know, kind of excited energy, I guess. If it's a really, really brand new opportunity or something, I definitely get a little bit nervous, but not to the point where I get like stage fright. I used to be more like that. It's kind of funny, if I get a little bit nervous, sometimes I'll just do like 5 jumping jacks before I get on stage, and it really helps. And then once I'm on stage, I'm fine. Like, I don't actually love to like be at a music venue when I'm performing. I don't love to be there super early because it makes me a little bit nervous. I love to get there like, you know, beforehand, like right beforehand or something like that, after we've sound checked and everything, so that I don't have to think about it and I can just get up there. And then once I'm up there, I'm totally fine. I kind of just go on autopilot.
Tristan, thank you for that question. Mr. Hoover, final question from you.
I apologize. I wasn't really prepared. Can you tell us, here's a good one. Can you tell us, we're stuck in the middle of nowhere. I love the town. I love the community. But these students that are, again, 7th grade, what could you tell them that could get them beyond that mindset of you're just here? Like, what's a hint or a tip or a trick that might just propel them to the next level?
Well, of course, it kind of depends exactly what area you potentially want to go in with music, but just in general, with like any sort of dream, of course, it's just doing it. I know it sounds really simple, but honestly, the more that you do it and make it real, obviously the better chance you have of getting it out there. For me, what started to make it real when I was your guys' age was just getting it recorded. So I just got some demos recorded. It wasn't anything crazy. Again, it was just something that wasn't, you know, a voice memo on my phone. And honestly, even that today, like, you have so much opportunity, especially if you're trying to be an artist, with your phone. So that reaching out to people via social media, if you have social media, or via email, in places that have stuff really happening, right? Whether it's New York or LA or London, you know, those are the main, Nashville, the main industry hubs. So connecting with people there is really, really important, or finding opportunities to potentially connect when you're a little bit older is important. Yeah, I would say just, don't give up, and just keep doing it. Don't let like the fact that you're in a small town make you think that it's not possible to get out and explore.
Thank you. That was sweet, and that was all very true. Back to Mr. Shriver.
Chloe, my final question for you, that you kind of mentioned there about dream. So I'm gonna throw this out to you. In your music career, what is the dream venue you would like to play?
Oh my goodness. Probably the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, that would be pretty amazing just because that's, of course, like one of the bigger, more iconic venues here in Los Angeles. It's outside. I'm a big outside girl, so to get to perform outside in my hometown like that would be just next level. So that, or Red Rock seems pretty amazing, but I've never actually been there.
Please tell everybody where you can find Chloe Caroline. We can find her on their internet, Twitter. Let everybody know where we can find and see your music.
Awesome. So my Instagram is at Chloe Caroline. My TikTok's at I'm Chloe Caroline. Same with Twitter if you have Twitter. ChloeCaroline.com is just my website. My YouTube is Chloe Caroline Music. And then if you just type in Chloe Caroline literally on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, if you ask Alexa, hey Alexa, play Chloe Caroline, my music will pop up. So yeah, it's really, really easy to find me. And then also in most of my Instagram bio, like TikTok bio, and most places in general, I have a fan number. So people can actually text me. It's actually me. It's not a robot. And we can kind of like stay in touch and I'll respond. So yeah, if you guys have Instagram and you want to ask me questions there, like please feel free to DM me and I will definitely get back to you. Or if you want to ask your teacher too, that works as well. And have him email me questions. Like I'd love to respond to you. So let me know.
Well, we know your time is valuable. Thank you so much. Everybody has a story to tell. That's our motto. And thanks for sharing your story with us today here at North White in Monon, Indiana, and becoming part of our family of speakers.
Of course. Thanks for having me. And I hope I get to come and meet you guys in person. That would be amazing.